gotta know the role you play. I spend my day with the information. I spit it so my people have some inspiration. It's not frustration that you hear when you saying this. It's just the passion that you hear when I'm spraying this. Elders okaying us to take the wheel, so I'ma say what I feel. After I press record, you can no longer afford to let the youth absorb this slave mentality. Sacrifice.
And we're back again. Welcome, Jumbo, Alafia, Peace, Hotep, Shalom, Shalom. I'm sorry for my folks who speak Arabic if I said that wrong, because a lot of folks are sensitive about stuff. But just basically welcome and greetings. You are now tuning in. If you are live, you live. We live. If you're catching the replay, the video broadcast, either way, we want to say thank you for joining. Thank you for tuning in. My name is the F.L.O. Xpress, and you are now tuning into the Xpressionz itself. This is my show. My almost like really like my journal, for real. Like, I do journal from time to time, written, like write in my journal and stuff like that. But this is another way of like sharing my journey. And instead of just having a personal private journal, this is my journal. This is my journal and documentation of my journey with the public. I know, right? For those who know, y'all know where I'm from, so I'm gonna represent it. You know what I mean? For my favorite MCs from New York, they be repping Brooklyn, they be repping Queens, they be repping the Bronx, Staten, Harlem. That's cool. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, Tubman City got some of that too, some of that gritty street element to it as well. But there's some beautiful parts and places, much like some of those places in New York. Baltimore is known for having a rich historical, cultural root, and was very much, a stop. I won't say a stop, but it was kind of like a hub. That's the word I was looking for, like a cultural hub, cultural entertainment hub, especially for, the American African community, or the melanated community, for those who, I know folks are kind of claiming different sets when it comes to indigenous, roots, indigenous, ethnicities and such, and I ain't mad at it. If you did your research and you know where you come from, and it's not just necessarily what they may want to label you, there's nothing wrong with that. So if you see me kind of darting this way and that, I'm also right now I'm live on my Instagram page, the F.L.O. Express. So you can find me on social media. I have a Facebook page, artist page, the F.L.O. Express. I have Instagram, account, the F.L.O. Express, THEFLO, no W, Express, no E before the X, THEFLO XPRESS. I'll put it in the, you'll see my link in the caption. I also plug my social media as well. Each episode I'm looking at ways to improve, my presentation. So for those who are catching me live, again, we want to give thanks for tuning in. I say peace to you from Tubman City by way of Georgia. And we kind of, hey, peace, sister. Thank you for tuning in. I'm actually taping my hey friend, I'm taping a podcast episode, so I'm just kind of warming things up. Tonight I'm talking about what my definition and my perspective of what a recording artist is, because there's a lot of debate and debacle, and it's not necessarily right or wrong answer there. It's just, there's more than one way of looking at it. But to kind of get into that subject, and we'll kind of bounce around a little bit tonight, but to kind of introduce the subject, or to kind of, introduce my thoughts on the subject, a recording artist, just, starting with the basic meaning of the term, appreciate it. A recording artist is someone who makes art out of the performance of, most likely vocal performance, but there could be also other elements. But someone who has the ability, you know, to whatever degree, you know, we can debate over talent or ability and things like that. But basically, someone who identifies or, you know, is identified as someone who performs music, vocally, musically, in a recording space. So if you get in front of a microphone and you're not scared to show the world what you got, what you're made of. Now this is the definition I'm giving is not including, it's not limited to, but it's not necessarily has to include, you know, songwriting or production or you know, lyricism. We're just talking about the recording phase. So that is art. Knowing how to put on a show when you get in that studio is art. Now, if you could translate that skill set into a live stage performance, that's when I really, like me, that's like where the bar is set as far as really getting my respect. If you could take what you do in the booth and give that same feeling, that same energy, experience, not the exact same, but, you know, similar type of experience. If they could feel you on stage like they feel you in the booth, I feel like you've arrived. You know, you definitely have skill, you have talent, you have what it takes to be a legitimate recording artist. Now, if you don't write your own stuff, but you can perform it, there's a talent for that, because there are people that write well that aren't really, you know, great performing artists. Like for me, I'd be the one to tell you, you know, my vocal performances, there's energy there, there's presence, there's character, you know, there's, you know, variety, tonality, so on and so forth. There's a lot of intangibles that I bring that I understand about the science of recording artistry. But I know I'm not the best recording artist, the most talented, gifted recording artist in the world. I feel like my stronger set probably is in the writing. And then I work on delivering that and bringing that to life in the recording phase. And then, of course, you know, the good thing about being a recording artist is that for flaws or imperfections that you may have either in your skill set overall or in that particular performance that you're recording for the song, you know, movie, whatever the case, the type of project you're recording your material for, jingle, you know. Pardon me, y'all. A little gassy today. But dang, lost my train of thought that quick. And I'm sober today. But for the vocals, you know, for the performance, you know, I bring a lot of those, bring energy. That's definitely a big part of it. Like being an actor or an actress, this is another reason why, you know, a lot of the popular, highly successful recording artists have been able to translate well, or have just at least had the opportunity to translate their skill set into film, because, you know, a lot of it's a performance. You know, when you're acting, that's a performance. It's stage. But I remember what I was gonna say now. You know, for the flaws and imperfections you may have in your skill set or your performance, you have the help of these wonderful, amazing, highly professional, highly skilled, highly underrated engineers that'll clean stuff up. And that's something that I also offer. So for recording artists, you know, if you need, you know, a recording engineer, we got a spot out here in Stockbridge. I posted the details on my previous episode. I will be posting them again. Shout out to 1200 Music Management. We got a home where you can record at and get that professional quality service and treatment and work. We're going to do you right. And also, if you need mixing and mastering services as well, those are two separate services. However, I do offer them. And if anytime you need that, just give me a holler. You can hit me on here, hit me on, if you're live on Instagram and you're hearing this now and you need a quality professional engineer that's going to talk to you. You know what I mean? I'm about building relationships. So talk to me. Let me know what it is that you need, what your vision is, and how I can assist you with bridging the gap from idea to reality. Because one of the beautiful things about being a recording artist is, you know, nothing like having an idea, being able to perform it and execute it and see it come together as you envisioned in your ears, in your mind, or even better than what you had in your head. I could tell you, as an artist, as a producer, I've experienced that myself, where I had an idea and it was like, all right, let me put it down. Actually, it's this song that I'm getting ready to put out and put together a video for. Was a prime example of an idea that I had in my head. Had it in for years. Like, I remember just riding the train one morning and I just kind of heard the beat, and it was like, I think I was playing with some stuff in my sound library and came across something, and then my subconscious put the beat together in my head, so that I'm hearing the joint in my head and I'm feeling like Beethoven, because I'm like nodding my head to a beat that's only playing in my head, in my inner ear, my mental ear. And I was like, word. So it took me years, because honestly, part of it was just, getting out of my head and actually, having the courage, the faith, the initiative to apply myself to put that idea on wax. Let me try the idea. Let me find the elements that I need to bring that idea to life. I was so happy when I did. Took some time to do it, but took some time, but then not really. It took, it was easier than I thought it might have been, which gave me encouragement to actually finish doing a whole project. After working on that song, actually started working on some other stuff before then, but that was an impetus to me finishing a whole project, because I was like, man, if I can do that, imagine what I do if I do that for a whole joint, for a whole mixtape, for a whole LP. And did that, found the elements, put the beat together, hooked it up, and wrote the rhymes. That was the next part of the idea. Like, there was the idea for the beat, put the beat together, and I was like, that's beautiful. Then the rhymes, I was like, well, what am I going to say? What's the idea? Actually, I had an idea. I already knew the concept right around the time when I made the beat here. The concept also came about. Came about a little bit later after. It was somewhere between when the beat was made here and before I started to actually put the track together, and was like, I know what the concept's going to be for this track. So I had the beat, or at least a rough draft of it, had the concept in my head. What are the rhymes going to be? What am I going to say in the rhymes? What am I going to say in the hook, to bring this idea to life, to illustrate that point? So it was like, took me some time. I think it's interesting because the first verse I wrote ended up becoming the second verse for the song. I don't know why I do that. Like, for me, when I write, oftentimes the first verse that I write for a song ends up being the last verse that I actually record for it. And then I expound on that idea, and it just kind of ties in and fills in the gaps and gives me a way to kind of bring it to life and bring it around full circle. So the second verse I write is kind of like an expansion or a revision of what I have expressed in the first verse, but then it's like it kind of ties everything together so beautifully that I end up usually making that the first verse on the track, because it's like a great introduction of the concept and the topic to the listener, and then the second verse is just kind of like bars, bars. You know what I'm saying? You know how I do on the flow, the F.L.O. All I do is, well, not all I do, but I flow. When it comes to this, it definitely flows. So there's that. And I was stuck for a minute. I had a little writer block when I was writing the verse for it, and not sure exactly what happened. I was doing like DoorDash one night and sitting at McDonald's, and interestingly enough, the song is called Rainmaker. And I was doing a DoorDash delivery one night, just, scraping some change together, doing this, that, the third, pay bills. And it was like drizzling. It wasn't like heavy rain, but it was drizzling, enough to kind of roll the windows up. And that's when the idea started to flow. It's a song called Rainmaker. It was starting to rain, and that's when the brain was storming. And then it was like, all right, yeah, king me. I'll run your checkers off the chessboard, da-da-da-da-da. And then it was like, from there, just the words started to come together after that. But I have to go through a lot. Sometimes I have to go through a lot of words just to find the right ones. But I know one thing I like to tell myself is, when I'm creating, whether it's the production side, whether it's the writing side, whether it's the editing and the engineering side, is The objective is to get this right, because once we get it right, we won't have to go over it again. Once I make this beat right, I won't have to make it again. Once I get this rhyme, this verse together, I won't have to write it again. Once I, get the mix and the flavor and the levels and the frequencies in shape and in order, won't have to do it again. That's the beautiful thing about a finished product with music. Once you do it right and you complete the process, you want to go back. So my objective is to master all phases of the creative process, so that way when I execute an idea, I do it right the first time, or maybe the first, second, third time, whatever the case may be, but in a minimal amount of time, and get it done right, thorough, professional, all the way through, and then it's done. I can move on to the next project, save me time, and also be able to help others out, because I really love what I do, so I won't necessarily charge the most. Now, my time is worth something, you know what I'm saying? So, I got to charge for the time, but my objective is not to make the most money out of it. It's just to really help others. Not to say I ain't trying to make no money. I'm willing to work with those. If you really got the talent and the drive, then we can work. We can talk. We'll make something work. Now, if you just another client, or I won't say just another client, but if you're not serious about it, but you're still looking for me to put my time into it, then it's gonna feel more like work for me. Just being transparent. But back to the topic at hand, as far as being a recording artist. And like I said, God has blessed these engineers, because there are a lot of recording artists that when you hear them on stage, hear them in person, sound like trash. But when you hear their CD, yes, I'm old like that, CD. When you hear their album on, you stream their albums, their singles, you watch their videos, the audio is, everything sounds so pristine and clean, because there was an engineer making sure that they recorded it as the best quality vocal performance that they could record, and then they went to work and put their professional $1 million mixing and mastering skills together to maximize the quality of the sound through their editing and mixing skills, and really getting all the elements together, getting the volume levels right, getting cleaning out all the clutter and the dust and the dirt, like polishing them vocals, getting the production together and squeezing everything together in just the right manner. It's a to big my brothers up, it's a precise science to mastering vibrations and frequencies in music. It's very important. You see what they're doing with this trash music that's hypnotizing y'all to do the dumbest shit that society's ever seen. So imagine having someone, don't imagine, because it's coming, it's going to be a reality, if it's not already, actually. Long live the underground R&B, underground hip-hop, underground independent music. There are engineers that have that skill set that can do the same thing for artists who have a message, or that have a higher vibration to offer through the airwaves of their expressions. So that way you're actually inspired and motivated to raise your frequency, to actually, do great things. I don't know, do great, whatever great is for you. Do better, and so on and so forth. To do better, to be better, to do something different, to be inspired, not to be afraid to be yourself. I won't say be different, but you're gonna be different from everybody else. So, excuse me. You're going to be different from everybody else, because everybody else's spot is taken. So you might as well be yourself. And it's going to be different. There's no two people that are made exactly like. Even identical twins, there are some things about them and their makeup that's different from the other. So there's no two people on this planet that are exactly alike. So yes, be different. Be yourself. Just be yourself. And that's going to be different, in essence. And that applies to being a recording artist. Knowing who you are, knowing what you can and cannot do as a recording artist is important. And establishing first of all, establishing your personal identity is important. And then establishing your artistic identity, which is an extension, should be an extension of your personal identity. And as the saying goes, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So, if you don't know who you are, and that's another reason why these record labels like to prey, these predators. I was kind of talking about that a little bit in my previous episode. These predators like to prey, not so much on this particular subject, but just, predator-ass record labels, because they're out there in abundance. And I'm thankful that the opportunity that I thought that I had in many years, many moons ago, that I thought I might have had to venture into the music industry, at a major level, that it didn't work out like I had hoped or had intended or planned to, because I know they would have, I just know for sure they definitely would have taken full advantage. I'd probably be in the same position that I'm in now, but I got shit out there in the airwaves like, yeah, da-da-da-da. People would have known me, see my face, and be like, oh yeah, you such that made that song, that made that album. I don't own shit. All the money that I made is gone and spent, and whole lot of stress. I mean, I might not even be here, to be honest with you. It's industry is so wild. Peace, sister. Appreciate you for joining. Just taping my podcast episode. So you're going to hear me kind of look here and then look here into the camera. But yeah, we talking about recording artists, the definition of, the application of, the meaning. But just knowing who you are as a person translates into who you are as a recording artist. And it's very important. And like I said, that's why a lot of these predator record labels prey on these young brothers and sisters. They throw money at them and get them to sign a contract as quickly as possible, because they know that in your early 20s, your late teens, you haven't experienced life enough to know. Not saying you haven't. I mean, you haven't experienced as much of life as someone who's in their late 20s, early 30s, to have a stronger sense of your self-identity. I mean, unless you were raised in one of those exceptionally strong, tight-knit family units that gave you roots and principle, and taught you how to think for yourself and be confident and love yourself from the onset, unless you was raised in one of them tight-knit households, getting support from your family members in your circle to know and be confident in who you are at a very young, early age, unless you was raised in one of them type situations. And even if you are, there's still some things that you're not going to understand about yourself until you just, get that experience. So they say the youth is marketable, but they're also very impressionable and vulnerable. So, young cats that are in their late teens, early 20s are less inclined to know who they are, know everything about them, know everything they need to know about them, their identity, their purpose, their path, than someone like 5-10 years later down the line. And usually what happens is they sign them when they're 18 and get 5 to 10 years out of tours, videos, projects, albums, sales. By the time they get to that point where they know who they are, the industry, the record label done got so much profit and, control, and just, they done got so much life. They done sucked so much life out of this artist that people in entertainment, if they enter the game young, that's why you see a lot of these child actors. They get in the game young, and they single digits, early teens. By the time they get to my age and they mid-30s, they strung out. They dead. They in the mental health facility. Or the ones who were strong enough to still, stand up against the tyranny of the entertainment industry and still want to think for themselves and be strong in their own identity, they get brushed to the side. Irrelevant. We'll find someone to replace your role quickly and make you expendable. So, it's entertainment. The mainstream entertainment industry is a heartless, unforgiving, cold, calculating devil of a beast. And for those who have been in it, will be the ones to tell you. And oftentimes, those who, are striving to get to the top have to sell their soul, have to sell their manhood, womanhood, just for a piece of the pie, just for a shot at their 15 minutes of fame. It's tragically sad, but again, this is the nature of the business. And this is why it's important for us to be educated as recording artists on what we're really signing up for when we negotiate these contracts with these monsters, these entertainment labels. So that was another aspect of it. We, just kind of tying back into the definition of a recording artist. So again, energy is important, character is important, identity is important. I actually did a song where I talked about, being in the perspective of, a child getting abducted from their homeland and being forced to be held captive on a slave ship. A child, mind you. Not someone who's a fully grown adult who may be able to better process or make sense or be better prepared for the harsh realities that they face and what lies ahead. For a child to have to be subject to that type of abuse, it's some pain. And as a recording artist, I had to get into a zone to be able to, get into not character, but I guess you could say get into that mode, that character, that energy of like, what would my voice sound like? What would my energy sound like if I had to write a letter to the future saying, well, this is what I'm in right now, and I'm hoping that someone finds this letter, and I hope someone, makes sure that I make it home safely. And home for them, unfortunately, was, back to the essence with the ancestors, because, you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of our ancestors, when they got snatched up, there was no happy ending for them. Unfortunately, we are descendants of the strongest people on the planet Earth. Ashe. So there was that. And then I've heard, there's plenty other examples I could think of where an artist was portraying the perspective of someone outside of who they are, and they had to get into character, deliver, the song, the lyrics, the vocals, the energy, the tone had to match, had to all align with that particular character, person they were portraying in their music. And it helps when, as a recording artist, you produce or you write your own material, because then it's easier for you to kind of directly, there's the more direct line of communication between recording artist, writer, and producer, as far as conveying the idea and the energy and the mood of that particular song that they are creating. If it's separate, then, if the recording artist is separate from the songwriter separate from the producer, then, they can team together, partner together. That's also worked as well. It just, there's advantages to, being at the helm of all of that. But most importantly, as the recording artist, you have to take whatever's written, whatever's produced for that particular concept, and bring it to life. Because, like Guru said, it's mostly the voice that gets you up. It's mostly the voice that makes you buck. Because it's, what the listener is listening to is the vocal artist. The beat is the beat. I know that people, know we listen to hip hop because of the beats, or listen to music because of the production. Especially nowadays, things have really advanced and evolved. The state of hip hop from a production phase that's one area I feel like has been a positive through most of the existence of the hip hop genres, that the production has been a consistent evolution. Now, you can say what you want to say about the artists, say what you want to say about the industry. That's always going to be the industry. As long as corporate devils are still making money off the creativity of our people. And that's something that we've been dealing with before hip hop. You know what I mean? So Cadillac Records is one of those examples. If you've seen the movie, Etta James and Muddy Waters and the like, being exploited by record labels that don't have their interests at heart. And then, when you see Michael Jackson kind of fight back with the creative genius and business savvy that he had, now I guess the only thing he did wrong was that he flexed on niggas, because He was like, "Yeah, I got them. I own half of Sony's publishing. That's a big ass check coming to my name. That's right." So when he got on the mic and bragged about that, they was like, "We gonna get this motherfucker." That's why they tried to make him out to be a pedophile, a child abuser, whatever the case may be, because they had to discredit him. See, there was a legal battle. A lot of people say, okay, the whole tarnish to his legacy. Well, Michael Jackson, did he do it? Did he mess with them kids? Did he not? And the fact that they still talk about to this day. See, that whole thing was, there was money on that beef. You know what I'm saying? Y'all think it's because people, hating on Michael Jackson because he was rich, famous, successful, so on and so forth. He wrote his own, charted his own path to success. That man been through a lot before he was even a man. He went through more as a child than a lot of us go through as people in our lives. So rest in peace, Michael Jackson. Rest in peace to Coolio. Rest in peace to Coolio. Another brother that apparently was doing some stuff behind the scenes, and went through a lot, knew a lot, wanted to share a lot with the people, and and unfortunately passed away very recently. So we want to shout out Coolio, salute him, rest in peace, brother. And but yeah, it was just like, Michael flexed on him when he got him to play their game. I'm sorry, when he played their game and beat him at it, and then he flexed on him, and he was like, oh no, we got to find something, because in his contract, in Michael Jackson's contract when he was a solo artist was, you can own this publishing unless you are found guilty of some type of felonious criminal act. I don't know exactly how the wording was on the contract. I didn't read it. But basically there was a clause in his contract that said that if he was found guilty of some type of criminal wrongdoing, then they could void that clause in his contract, and he would have to surrender or forfeit his ownership rights to the publishing. A whole big ass record label. He owns half they publishing. Owned. Either that or he had to die. So they tried him twice, mind you. Twice. For the same type of offense. Because they know he loved children. This man was robbed. In many ways. Robbed of his own childhood. Now mind you, I get it. His dad was driven to have his children be one of the most successful R&B groups of all time. And he did that, Big ups to Joe Jackson for that. His legacy is kind of a little dubious, but that part is commendable. How he got his children set up for success and long-term fortune. I mean, between Janet and Michael, two of the biggest, brightest names ever in the music industry, ever, period. But the problem was it cost them the way he went about it. There wasn't enough balance in terms of, especially Michael, because Michael was the brightest star. I think his brothers and sisters had a chance to still be able to experience the joys and the wonders of childhood because they weren't always in the limelight. Michael was so special that it was like, we want Michael. It was like when he was a child, it was like, yeah, Michael, Jermaine, Tito, I don't remember all their names, but the whole group. But it was like, Michael was front and center, so he was the star of the show. But even before he grew up and went solo, and even when he was doing stuff with the Jackson 5 and they grew up and stuff like that, you knew. You know what I'm saying? Your man was, something. He was the man, the king of pop. You know what I'm saying? And listen, man. But that was just me speaking about how Michael's one of those exceptions to the rules in terms of being able to eat off of his craft, because the way these record labels are set up, and he probably had a chance to really learn a lot about the business from his experience dealing with it as a youth. That's a unique position to be in. When you're 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, and you can overhear conversations on the phone or in the studio or at the record label about royalties and publishing, mechanical royalties, and percentages, and publishing, and licensing and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a whole bunch of ways the record labels be getting to the bag, securing the bag, sitting there acting like, well, we gotta pay for this, we gotta pay for that. Well, in the contract, you already got paid for it. So you might be able to rate my brothers and my family, but when I go solo, we get to negotiating these contracts. It's gonna be bleep you, pay me. So that could probably be a whole nother podcast episode in and of itself. I know that my brother had put together like a mini documentary about Michael Jackson's legacy and the factors that kind of led to his untimely passing. I know his Earth Day was about a month ago. So these are, just many of the things that kind of factor into a recording artist. There's like factors that come into the concept of being a recording artist, and then there's so many ways that recording artists has impacts that branch out and reach out, far and beyond in so many different ways, on different levels, in so many different directions, how the job or the work of a recording artist has reach and impact on society, on the world. And that's why it's important to know what your responsibility is, know what your abilities are, know what your identity is. Because what you say and do on these microphones have far greater impact than what you are aware of in the moment that you're recording that music, that song. Just me doing this podcast right now. Somebody's going to hear this. There's going to be a message. There's going to be something that I said tonight that people are going to think about, going to talk about. They're going to have a conversation in their car to themselves. If they're anything like me, I have conversations with myself all the time. No shame. Don't judge. But, I have conversations with their friends, family members, spouses, brothers and sisters, community. They might pull this up and have a whole group conversation on just, exactly, that just on what we're talking about. But yeah, words are spells. Words have power. So that's something to also keep in mind as a recording artist. You do have a responsibility for what you create, because those vibrations are being put out and transmitted through the airwaves. And that's why, my name is an acknowledgement of my responsibility as an artist. The F.L.O, factual libations for overstanding. I'm spitting facts. I don't lie to you. Not on the music. I know, the objective is to not lie in life, right? Be as honest as possible. First and foremost with yourself, because if you lying to yourself, then you're going to lie to any and everybody else. But to spit facts, not just like truth, but facts. You know what I mean? Give you information. And indeed, growth is always infinite. Especially if you are committed to growth. If you take growth seriously, then it's it's an ongoing, continuous process. It never ends, because as spirit beings having a human experience, we're engineered to make mistakes. We're engineered to be imperfect. So all we can do is strive to get better and improve and learn and develop and grow. That requires honesty. That requires humility. That requires transparency. That requires, humility. I said that. For you to cast your ego to the side, set it down. So that way you can receive the information, the feedback, the instruction that is necessary for the growth. It's interesting because, if you can put your ego to the side, you can delay gratification, then you can actually be better. The ego will think you're like this. I'm the shit. You know what I'm saying? But you can actually get better at something. And if you know how to check your ego and put it to the side, then you can actually grow and be better than the person you were yesterday. The person you were last 7-day cycle. I like to say strong instead of weak. I mean, you want to be weak or you want to be strong. Wordplay. But, yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to be putting this up on my YouTube channel. So the link is in my bio. If you want to, plug into my YouTube page, YouTube channel, I'm be doing this on a regular basis. So that way, I'll have more and more conversations for y'all to tune into, whether you catch me live or you catch the, the published broadcast. We out here. So I know I kind of ran, but I went on a few different tangents there. But just back to the meaning of a recording artist. So a recording artist is a communicator. A recording artist is a communicator, a conduit, a representative in a sense. They're a spokesperson. A recording artist is an actor or an actress, because even though you may not be able to see visually the performance that they are giving you, unless it's live or they recorded their recording session on camera as well as audio, there's a lot of that too. But the point being is that you're putting on a performance, you're conveying energy, you're conveying an experience, a perspective that has a concept, that has an idea. You're conveying an idea and bringing it to life, and basically, what else is a recording artist? A recording artist is an artist. It's an art, recording vocal performances is an art. Whether you're the performer or the recorder, and in many ways you're both. If you're me, I record myself. An orator, wordsmith, a master of ceremony. Thank you so much, sister. Like I said, I probably can't think of everything myself as far as what that is, and I appreciate, the audience for contributing to this particular this show this evening, to help everybody else better understand what that is. And another reason why I wanted to bring this up, because there's been a lot of criticism, particularly in urban music genres, hip hop to be most specific, that if you don't write your own lyrics as a recording artist, then your credibility as an artist is diminished. And it depends. There are certain subgenres of music, of hip hop, of music that, the credibility as a recording artist that writes your own material, it matters more because of the principle of the art. But other artists, listen, if you are a recording artist that makes music on a level where millions of people are subscribing, paying attention, streaming, following, supporting you, put it like that. If you're making music at a level where millions, if not billions of people are supporting you, then you're gonna need to make music that, a broad range of people are gonna be able to relate to and enjoy. And that oftentimes is very difficult to do just within your own head. I mean, not to mention the type of influence you have. So you have a lot of endeavors from your influence that takes away your time and your energy. So you may not even really have the time to write your own music. I mean, when you're just starting out, yeah, you got time, because it's like people haven't seen, not everybody's seen what you can do. So you're still kind of building up your craft and so on and so forth. But when you're still in development or coming up or ascending as an artist, a lot of stuff that you're making is most likely going to be from you, because you don't have the resources, and you're trying to establish yourself. But once you've already established, when you're at a Drake, a Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Yo Gotti, Future, Jake, Kendrick Lamar type level, Kendrick Lamar. How many rappers with a Pulitzer Prize? How award-winning writing skills. But the point is, when you're at that type of level, Beyonce, you know what I'm saying? Like you're a household name in music. Oftentimes, like you may still write your own stuff, but you may need assistance to speed up the process, or just to add something that you might have missed from your own perspective to like I said, help you make the type of music that your very vast base of supporters and followers are going to be able to enjoy. Once you get to the top, it's probably more work to stay there than it is to get there. You may make one joint and go viral, and the next thing you know, you're an instant sensation. Or it might have took you some time to get to that point, but you might have had made albums for years, putting out stuff for years, but that one joint finally hit, and it's like now you're on the map. Once you get there, it's like everybody wants to interview you. You're on tours. You're at award ceremonies. You're doing commercials or endorsements. You're probably even more present on social media to connect with the people that support you. So that all of that takes away time from actually getting to your craft of making music. And you might, depending on what obligations you have to the record label that you're signed with, which is always better to be signed as a label. If you have your own record label or production entity that you can join with a major label as a joint venture, you have more leverage because you have more creative control, more input, and you're also bringing more investment. You're bringing more to the table investment wise. So now you have more leeway and leverage to dictate or to delegate how you want your career path to go, the direction you want to go. But if you're just signed to a record label as an artist, as a solo artist, as a sole proprietor, then oftentimes the obligations you have are time-based, time-sensitive. So you may have only a certain number of weeks or months to complete a project, and you got, not to mention you might have family, you might have a spouse, children, and even before then, relatives that you grew up with that support you, that you may have to support as well. They're like, hey, you made it, so now we made it. And it's like, stuff like that, personal stuff. So all that to say that, these big name artists don't always have the time or the resources afforded to them, available to them, to make their own material from scratch, within themselves. They have to hire a team of writers. They know, hey, I spend, I don't know, whatever the budget may be, a few $1,000s to hire one or two or a whole team of, writers, co-writers to help me to create this concept, this song, this project, this album. And then I can just focus on, bringing that performance to life. So we can just, hey, y'all write it, I record it, I'll write it. Y'all write it, I help write it, we write it. Get the producer to produce it. The producer might already have the track already ready. We write into the track. Then, all right, we got the song done. I'm going to go record that. All right, as soon as I'm done with the recording and it sounds the way I want it to sound, it's good. All right, we out. On to the next thing. I got other things I need to do with my time today. I got to get ready to get on this plane. It might be recording in the hotel room. You know what I'm saying? Because, just landed on the plane. I got, a interview or, some type of appearance tour, or I'm shooting a movie or something like that. And, I'm still working on this project. Oftentimes, I think it's a little bit different now in these times, but like 5, 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was very not unusual for an artist to record an album while they're on tour. Because it took longer to kind of put stuff together, and the technology wasn't as remote or portable as it is now. But it was commonplace for folks to. It's producers that was renting out hotel rooms while they in a creative space. They need a space where they can create, but they got all the equipment set up, plugged in, tuned in a hotel room, because they gotta move about and go this way and that. They gotta go, make moves, but they still gotta, create. So recording artists, they're griots too, as kind of to kind of also speak to, the definition of a recording artist and the work, the characteristics that describe that. But yeah, a lot of recording artists, the major ones, the big weights, the heavyweights, the big wigs, and they always don't have the time or the resources to be able to create all of their material from their own mind. And I mean, hey, if the song is if it's a jam, if it's a cut, you know what I'm saying? Who the hell cares? You know, most people that support music, not I won't say most, but a lot of people who support music aren't really in it to study all of the intricate details about who made it and how they made it and why. It's just listen. If it's a great song, it's on my playlist. That's it. You know. So they're not thinking about that. But with rap, I know that's probably stressed more than anything. A lot of things to an extreme, almost unreasonable degree are stressed in rap more than any other genre of music. Like, you know, authenticity not only to the creation of your craft, the writing of it, but also like the character that you portray. It's entertainment. Like, just you know, there's so many people that could still be alive today if, you know, rappers and rap fans could just understand that it's entertainment. It's entertainment. You know, I'm not against anyone who, you know, subscribes to a life of crime or will describe that in their music. A lot of my favorite artists, you know, either are or were criminals. And they portray that energy very well, very creatively, should I say. I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but, you know, parental discretion is advised, you know. Balance it out, you know. I might listen to some raucous, ratchet, you know, some hardcore, very graphic content, and then I'll balance it out with something that's a little bit more elevating, a little bit more intellectual, more, more nutritional for the spirit, for one's growth. So there's that balance as well, because I understand, like, you know, we're individuals of dual essences, but you know, with your children, it's important to have that balance as well. If they're gonna listen to, you know, a Jeezy, a Gotti, or you know, a Dolph, or you know, Kodak. I like Kodak Black. I'm gonna leave him alone, but you know, and then there's J. Cole, there's Joey Badass, there's, you know, Kendrick Lamar, there's Planet Asia, there's you know, that give you that high frequency, high science hip hop, J Electronica, you know what I'm saying? There's a balance. So and then there's artists that kind of give you a little bit of both. Meek Mill, I feel like one. T.I. is another one, where they'll talk some of that gangster shit, that player shit, but they also give you some perspective and say, hey, this is some social commentary as well, because it's deeper than just rap. You know, I understand I have a responsibility with my platform of influence, and that ties into what's being discussed. And I appreciate artists like that understand that, you know, you have the freedom to say whatever it is that you want to say. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, there is an impact and a responsibility and a response that you're going to get from what you put out in them airwaves. So it's important to understand that and move like that. Because whether you know or understand or accept that responsibility or not, it is there. Your mission, should you choose to accept, is that whatever you put out there, you better be responsible for what comes back to you from it. Because, you know, you know, the brother that just recently passed away from the violent incident, young brother PNB Rock. I had just seen a video that was, you know, released on social media. Him saying, "Well, ain't nobody ever roll up on me, so and such and such," and he was right at that particular moment in time in his life. But then what happened afterwards? Not saying that was the cause, and I'm not saying that was the direct effect to the cause. However, again, words are spells. You spell words. When you put the letters together, you spell words. So when you say this and that and that and this and this and that, you're calling energy that he might not have ever said anything out of his mouth about it before. But when he made that video, the Wombniverse responded like, okay, well, since that's the energy you want to call upon, let's manifest that. Boom. And we've had enough of that, you know, and that's why, you know, you have politicians trying to ban drill rap, because the energy that a lot of artists are putting out behind that music, is very violent, dangerous. Exactly. Boomerang. The boomerang. You know what I'm saying? What you put out comes back to you. So, and that being a recording artist is just a very shining, bright example of that. You know, we were hoping that hip hop would take a more positive stance after Tupac and Biggie were killed because, of the energy that they circulated a lot, especially when they were having their tensions and disagreements and putting that out in the music, and that stirred about a lot of energy that incurred a lot of violence. I mean, listen, we are targets. If you have melanin and you live in this war zone called America with 3 Ks, you have a target on your back. So a lot of this aggressive, violent, angry energy that a lot of our young brothers and sisters portray is oftentimes because we're under attack. We're sick and tired of being a damn target. The problem is that we've been programmed to express and channel this anger and this violent energy internally, either on ourselves, we killing ourselves, or harming ourselves, or we take it out on those that look like us in our own neighborhoods, people that we probably went to school with, grew up with. But because, it's much easier and more familiar to deal with someone that looks like you, that's in your own neighborhood, going through the same shit that you're going through, same type of conditions and struggles, challenges, and dangers, it's easier to just right there, just like domestic abuse. A lot of folks, a lot of individuals will come home and they'll just expound that angry, violent energy that they experience being stressed out on the job, being subordinated and disrespected in some way, shape, or form or another, and they know they can't. There's not a direct target they can take it out on at the source because they know they tell that person exactly how they feel, it's going to get back, and then they know they're going to have to look for some other type of work. So, that's unfortunate. So a lot of pent up energy and anger, not knowing who and where to channel that energy to, and have an outlet to say, okay, this is where I'm gonna expel my angry energy on in a constructive way, so that way I'm not abusing myself or my loved ones. Instead of that, they end up doing that because they don't know where to take it out on. And I think the music was also a big part of us, getting that off our chest. Like, this is how I feel. I feel like, first person to look at me wrong, bow. You know what I'm saying? That's not what I'm necessarily intend to do, but that's just how I feel because these are the conditions I'm subject to. NWA was one of the first examples that we got from kind of expressing that energy, through their reality rap. This is the harsh realities that we're facing. What is it? Bleep the Police. That was one of the first examples of them just saying, we're tired of being targeted in our own communities. Like, have you not seen? Look, do you see all the rats and the roaches around here? Do you think we want to live here? It's a lot of decent black folk that are trapped in the ghetto, trapped in the hood, trapped in the projects because they can't afford, they don't have the means to, in the first opportunity that they get, they out of there, right? Understandable. It's just that we need to bring, support each other. It's about the communal effort for us to, evolve and grow and progress and to experience abundance. But again, any individual have an opportunity to move out the hood, they gone. For the ones that are stuck there, that feel trapped, oftentimes, they're stuck with folks that they don't necessarily want to be around, and an environment they definitely don't want to be around. So again, whatever outlet that they have, they're going to use that to expound. It's just like, you don't want to hold it all inside because you fucking explode. So, if you have a microphone in front of you, if you have, a loaded weapon, You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be this. Doesn't have to be a firearm. I know this. I'll pull this out. Somebody's gonna be really afraid. But you know what I'm saying? Not a firearm, or some type of object that can be used for combat. But also, the mind is a weapon. You know, the voice is a weapon. Which is what this podcast is a weapon. Trust and believe, a weapon of mass instruction. You know what I'm saying? And information. So we're gonna wrap this thing up shortly. We may have to revisit the topic at some point moving forward. But I definitely wanted to talk about that today because, you know, there are some misconstructions, misconceptions of what a recording artist is, what their responsibilities are, what their impact is. Because if a recording artist wasn't that important, if their impact potentially wasn't that important, if their influence wasn't as strong as it is, then there wouldn't be nearly as many recording artists as there has been throughout the entire existence of music. So I'm sure I'm gonna, you know, review this, what we discussed today, and come back to it. And whatever I might have missed, you know, might be on the next episode. Certainly, for those who have tuned in live, or for those who, you know, will be watching this video, feel free to comment, leave feedback. If there's any questions, topics, information you want to share, something you would like to add to the discussion, you know, I know this is my podcast, but this is a platform I'm sharing with the community. This is for y'all, you know. So, and y'all are what kind of make this work, what makes it happen, because otherwise I'm just talking to myself, and I don't need a microphone or a camera to do that. But I am just being a conduit, you know, a catalyst, an impetus in any way, shape, or form of intelligent, progressive, meaningful, engaging, stimulating, and enlightening conversation about, you know, my journey as a creative, as well as the journey of a creative, the impact, the meaning, the definition of a creative. And a recording artist is very much a creative. Even if they don't write their own shit, a recording artist is very much a creative, because what they bring to life through this energy right here, the throat chakra, that shit is art. You know, a singer, a lot of singers don't write their own material, but their performance, whether in the booth or on stage, is very much considered an art. You know, how many times you heard a brother and sister that doesn't have a deal, but they got a sweet, beautiful voice? You know, you're like, damn, you need to be, you know, on tour somewhere, opening up for, you know, this or that headliner, because you got a gift. And I don't know, you know, maybe they tried, maybe they didn't, maybe the timing ain't right, whatever the case may be. But, you know, you recognize that it's art. So, you know, a poet, you know, someone who knows how to recite rap lyrics, you know what I'm saying? Actors, so on and so forth. So it's a lot of different things that come into the artistry of recording, and certainly a lot comes out of it as well, as we've seen. But I guess what we wanted to talk about and touch on today was a lot of what goes into the craft of recording artistry. And I guess we could talk about how we can improve on that, or, you know, do's and don'ts, or whatever the case may be. There's so much more that we can expound on from this topic, but, you know, it's just Spirit just called on me today to just, not even just today, recently, to talk about this subject, because it's very much an important part of our journey. And I guess I'll share more about my personal experience about that as well, as far as my experience as a recording artist, because I really feel like I've done not much more than scratch the surface as far as what I could do as a recording artist. This latest project, I feel like I really took a major step forward in terms of exploring and expressing my capabilities as a recording artist. And, you know, I found, you know, my skill set, you know, it stands out. There's something rather unique to who I am and what I can do as a recording artist, because I know with the pen as a writer, I've been familiar with that. That's the part of my artistic expression I've been most familiar with in my lifetime is as an artist and as a producer. I feel pretty comfortable in that realm as well. I'm always looking ways to improve or expand my skill set. But y'all gonna hear what because these last couple projects aren't the most up to date as far as the sound that I've crafted, but what I've been able to create as a producer in very recent months is also a major step up from what I've done earlier in my career as an artist as a producer. So, and then the mixing and the mastering as well is going to bring that out in a way that you never heard before. So it's like, I'm not trying to brag, but I was like, I'm excited just thinking about it and talking about it because I'm doing the work right now. I'm actually working on, in fact, and very shortly, if you see this equipment behind me, I don't know if you can see it too well, but if you can see, some of the gear I have behind me, and such, I'm about to get to that right now. Like right after I finish, as soon as the director yells cut, print, I'm about to actually continue to work on completing this project so I can showcase what I can do, what I'm capable of, what I be doing. You give me a computer and a MIDI controller and some monitors and a source of electricity, internal and external. Watch what I can do. Some amazing shit. Just being what a recording artist is? Is also a vessel of divine creation, which is I'll show you something now. Why I got to do that? I feel like if I was to show you something now, it probably wouldn't be my best work, my best presentation. But I'm gonna be posting some stuff up very soon, because it's like I'm kind of starting from scratch in a sense because I learned a lot and I'm just kind of reapplying myself in the process. That's cool. All right. Well, listen. That's something I'll definitely keep in mind for future references. Like I said, this podcast is like we're building things up from the ground up. So but I do appreciate the feedback. Because what I plan, that's something to keep in mind moving forward, is to also showcase what we have. Also, I do have a link on my YouTube channel that's on the bio. The link is actually directly to my promo video, which I did put together a preview of some of the recent material that I've worked on, showcasing my artist, producer, and engineering skills. So I do have something that I could put on there, and I may just take a little clip of that and put it in this episode or whatever just to demonstrate. But just go to the link if you want to hear something. I wasn't really prepared to pull something out now at this particular moment. I know we're kind of getting late in the day, so I'm being mindful of neighbors and things like that in the limited space that I have. So, but I'll definitely keep that in mind as far as having an element to showcase my creative genius and my demonstration of what we're talking about here, and be amazed. But I want to really give thanks to each and every one of y'all for tuning in and for riding it out with me and listening and giving me your ears and your time. I hope you learned something. I hope you just got something, just took something from this to help you along in your journey. If you are a recording artist, if you are a creative, and if there's someone who is a creative, to just, I guess, have this conversation with them or pull this up. I just hope this sparked some conversation, a dialogue in any type of way that can be useful, impactful in a positive way. That is the intention of, my use of my platforms, whether it's, this or any music that I make, videos, anywhere you see me expressing myself, it is to, initiate or, spark something positive for humanity. So with that being said, thanks again. Stay tuned for the next episode. We give love. We give thanks. Y'all be safe. We know it's storms out there on the east. It's a big storm out there on the East Coast. So we ask everyone stay safe, and for everyone who has had to face the conditions, we hope that you're able to stay safe and get to shelter and be in the company and the presence of loved ones, and just be able to stay in a positive space as we weather the storm, either literally or figuratively in some way, shape, or form. Because life is a storm. Life has its storms, and you gotta learn how to dance in the rain, to be able to get through. But philosophies aside, give thanks again. I can't thank y'all enough, because I guess without you, there's no me. There's no this. We don't have this without y'all. So again, stay tuned. Connect with me on social media. I'm gonna put, make sure I have my contacts up on here, so that way you'll know how to stay in touch. And subscribe. Peace, love, blessings.
Get into this to
Hotep.
be redundant about our true history and how far we plummet. We in the 9th inning, and our existence is contingent on winning. Ancestral thoughts has my mind remembering. I have to stand with what I know, not what I believe. I won't corrupt the seeds. All these GMO MCs, I'll deflect them all. I don't carry this onk for nothing. I rep the halls of my eye. You don't know nothing about it,